Okay, today is a message for Ingrid Betancourt, who was the former Colombian presidential candidate for the 2002 elections, and was kidnapped at the beginning of the year and held by the FARC for 7 years and was liberated. I forget which year. It was a few years, I believe, before I came back to Washington, D.C., which was in the United States. That was January 2009. And I found her book, Even Silence Has an End, that she had written after her liberation, and was reading it, and I said, oh my Lord, this is exactly what I am living in Washington, D.C. Her calvaire in the jungle of Colombia with the guerrilla there is no different than all other people who are living in Washington, D.C. This is one of my messages for Laura Nader, the author of Life of Law and sister of Ralph Nader. Why aren't they getting together and building coalitions and fighting all of this instead of presenting himself for president every year? So anyway, but Laura Nader, she highly criticizes the mediation process with good reason, and she her book, there was the Berkeley Village Project, and that she did in the hills of Guatemala. Well, basically, I've been showing what she did in the hills of Guatemala with, Pueblo campesinos, and trying to promote the idea, that we've got to study the heathens. But we're all of our societies are upstanding and clean. Works the same way. It's exact same dynamics in the little pueblo in Guatemala with the campesinos as what's going on not only in amongst the group houses in Washington, D.C., which is mainly filled with the millennials. I mean, talk about your discrimination, age discrimination. Here, I was accepted because I'm a spring chicken at almost 60 years old. And this landlord tenant, because he lives here as well, he suffers from Munchausen by proxy. I think he's also a hypochondriac, narcissist. He started with some gaslighting. The forensic psychiatrist called this gaslighting. So he's taking things, and then people are crazy. This morning I was getting screamed at by the other white male supremacist, ex-cokehead and ex-heroin addict, who's a violent, the man has the mind of a 3-year-old. Both of them. All they know how to do is scream and yell. Anytime they're not happy with something, they go off. This guy, his sea salt, was missing. I cleaned, God forbid, I get raked over the coals anytime I clean, and they scream and yell. So I'd cleaned one of the shelves. I'm trying to do it one by one to not upset their zen, because they get upset when I clean. House hasn't been cleaned for 10 years. So yes, this is a little bit better than what you lived in the jungle. Believe me, I went through a trek through the jungle in the Amazon. I went to Leticia. I loved it. But we did go through a trek for the day and got, in the rainstorm, and everybody fell in the swamp. I was the only one who didn't fall in. You had to walk across, I'm sure you had to do that. You had to walk across these branches that had fallen and you didn't know, and you had to kind of, and then everybody else was, pulling out their boots and emptying out the water, and I, with a broken toe, in fact. Well, it was fractured, I think, but I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to interrupt my trip to the Amazon. I'd done it in kickboxing. They put up the bag, and I realized you're supposed to hit with your foot like that and not your toes real quick. So anyway, I have a little bit of an idea what you went through. Believe me, the best shower, well, one of the best showers I've ever had was when I came back. And that was just one afternoon. So yes, I do have empathy of what you would have lived through for 7 years. And you didn't have the luxury hotel at Leticia, which I think it was luxury because it maybe had running water and hot water. But it was spectacular. We went the 3 miles to see the pink dolphins, the river dolphins. And Amazon is spectacular, and it needs to really be preserved because there's a lot of problems going on there, a lot. And instead of being in your ivory tower in Oxford, cashing in on all of this, you should be out there with me combating this. I mean, one of the things that I supported your campaign was that it was for peace and anti-corruption. And that's why I had even spoke with Astrid, her sister. This was at the beginning of the year. I was becoming president of Bogota, and you were all over the news in France, Marie Claire, Jean d'Arc, de Colombia, todo eso. And I said, this is a great opportunity. Astrid, would Ingrid be interested in presenting her ideas and platform in French to the French expat community? And she said yes, and so I said, okay, I'll organize it. Before I had even asked Astrid, I had asked, oh gosh, what's her name now? She was the outgoing president. Because I didn't want to step on any toes. See, yes, you all are right. All of these organizations are just a bunch of backstabbing little bitches getting together for their coffee mornings. That's why I've come up with the idea for global expats. And that's even why I became president of Bogota. I mean, all my life I've been put into positions of leadership. And I don't want it. Because I know from experience, lots of experience, even on my own frickin' family, when it comes to doing the nitty-gritty hard work, nobody's around. Nobody's to be found. I got a phone call. I got a meeting. I got this. I got that. Yeah, well, see, this is what Washington is doing. But since I came back here, since 2009, I've been on lockdown. I mean, this is ridiculous. Come on, Ingrid. A white American woman can't get a job in her own country because she is white American and smart and hardworking and honest and dedicated. The first headhunter I met when I came here in 2009, that employment agency's up a Big Creek without a paddle, because they got me a job with the IMF Family Association, and little backstabbing Anne Beatrix Keller-Semadini thought the work that I had done was so great she was going to get rid of me and take the credit for herself. Now, see, for her, well, this is what all of the economists are doing. This is what all of the PhDs are doing. This is what everybody else is doing. So why shouldn't I? And of course, everybody thinks, oh, well, this is just, administrative work. So who cares? Well, no, it's really, really, really important. I mean, it's incredible. I've even read reports and news articles on how intellectual property theft amongst all of the PhDs, everybody, corporation, it runs gamut, is standard fare. And one of the reasons is we've had a breakdown in the rule of law, which dates back to antiquity, and is one of the problems. We keep having wars and civil unrest and revolutions, but has also been exacerbated by this war on drugs that started in the 70s. And pretty much everybody has embraced it. I mean, I asked, my beef with the American government is documented with their Plan Colombia back to, which year would this be? It would have been late 1990s, when some idiots from Washington, Congress people, State Department people, came down to the embassy and was all, Plan Colombia, Plan Colombia. Yeah, oh, I loved it. Oh, no. We'll be doing some spraying, but it'll only hit the cocoa leaves and nothing else will be affected. Yeah, right. You believe that when I got a bridge to sell you? So, I mean, at the embassy, I even stood up at the end of the presentation. And I mean, people don't like, even at the IMF, when I stood up at the town hall and asked Christine Lagarde about, empowering women and homemakers and the problems that have been created for the homemakers who are being ostracized and oppressed and persecuted in the courts, along with their children, particularly victims of domestic violence. Now, you know all about this. I mean, my God, I asked, one of the things that I did in 2007 when I was getting hung out to dry by the courts and the American and French consulate. 3 times I went down to, both consulates. The third time with the French, which of course is smaller and less, with the Americans, they were all behind bulletproof screens and stuff, and with the French, it was a little office, and I actually, the third time I come with my bag of all the papers, of evidence of what's going on. See, nobody knows how to look at evidence. Not in the courts, not the economists, not the policy makers. Nobody. You too busy frickin' partying and fornicating, having affairs, getting, your latest conquest, whether it be a husband or a mistress or a one-night stand or whatever. It's all anybody does. And that started in the 1980s. I was in the front row, front seat, when it started here, with my former classmates of Foxcroft, with Cornelia Guest, Deb of the Decade, head cheerleader. And that has been followed by one whore after another. We got Paris Hilton, Kim Kardashian, and they're trash in this country. And you little ladies who are buying all into this paradigm, well, you're going to go down with them. Because you want to be part, you want to grapple up the ladder of success, whether it be in the workplace or through marrying a rich husband. See, I didn't marry rich. And believe me, the trophy between my ex-husband and me was me. If he grappled up to how high he did, his level of incompetence, it was thanks to me. There is, all of your story is kind of the exact opposite of mine. You became a bored housewife, so you thought, oh, I want to get a place on the podium and get in this limelight. Well, you had your day in the limelight as a senator, and I have to say, I thought your campaign and the way that you made your campaign into, started it for president of Colombia was brilliant. You wouldn't have gotten that much coverage in Colombia, but in France, and you did the whole Jeanne d'Arc stuff, but see, yeah, sure, I'm doing a whole social media and positioning campaign type of thing on my family tree of the founding father of John Dickinson, because my argumentation does parallel that, but there's substance. I'm meat and potatoes. I'm not just going rah rah rah. Oh, I'm related to John Dickinson, so why don't you put me in power? No. That actually came way after. That had started in 2016 and it was my father who I was working on my blogs for Sean Penn of the El Chapo Speaks, of course, with everybody shutting me up. All you people playing the ignore her till she goes away game with me, particularly when you're in my first or second network of people that I know. And that includes, believe me, I don't know, everybody's been treating me like I'm some contrabundian hick who came to the big city and found myself a rich husband and then got dumped, and I just can't make my way back into the social class. That's not been the case. If I had wanted to go down that road, Ingrid, I could have gone down that road. My mother offered that to me on a frickin' silver platter in the early 80s when I was in my debutante party. My parents just passed. We had a memorial service. So yeah, you can all, you and everybody else can go online, see the memorial service, and see, my mom was the social climber from, I guess it's central Louisiana, Alexandria, Louisiana, with the Depression, I guess she had said that her mother had grown up, merchant family, so they were maybe upper middle class of the town. It was Alexandria, Louisiana, and she didn't marry rich, but my father was he also passed away from COVID, was a brilliant doctor. I mean, he was a protege of Ochsner when he was at Tulane in New Orleans. However, my father also, just like me, would not bow down to the status quo and would only speak the truth, and truth to power. His big beef all the time was with the healthcare and medical community in this country, and he was right. I mean, I even remember as a child, there was a conversation that my father was concerned that one of the heart surgeon that he knew, he was a cardiologist, he's most famous for his work in the treatment of thrombosis. That also was contentious with the American government because it was too expensive. But time has shown he was right. I've also desperately been trying to promote that. That would have I mean, being locked up with my mom at the end, I can't say that it's been, it's like a euthanasia. If a person is in such horrible, horrible, horrible pain, and this pain was easily avoided. The psychiatrist, I know why my dad always said, damn psychiatrist, damn psychiatrist. Well, I figured that one out. I got my dose with the court psychologist and what's going on there in Spain when Xavier tried to pull the same thing that my mom did pull on my dad when he tried to leave. Get him locked up in a psychiatric ward. She was successful. She got him doped up finally, and he was on enormous levels of lithium at the end. We found that out because they ended up in a nursing home for the poor, Little Sisters of the Poor, on welfare. This over-indebtedness, this narcissistic, this party hardy, whether it be the Nancy Reagan version of, I really liked in Patty Davis' book, she talks about, oh yeah, her mother, when you're babies, oh, cute and cuddly, but as they grow up, don't know how to deal with children. Really all of you feminists out there, if you don't want to have kids, don't have kids. Do the world a favor. But don't produce a bunch of kids to show that you can have it all, and they're nothing but some commodities for you to present to the world to show that you're a good mother. That's not what mothering is about. See, all of the feminists are going to have a real hard time when I finally get them into court, and you're going to have to prove that you all can have it all. Because you were in the Seychelles. I mean, most people would just, this is, I have arrived. This is the life of luxury, sitting around married to a French diplomat. And I know plenty of people probably more people in the French diplomatic corps than in the American diplomatic corps. But believe me, just as bad. And the Spaniards are just as bad. And the corporate world, the diplomatic, those are the expats who are in power. FIA, Fédération Internationale Association Francophone à l'Étranger. That was Bogota K. FACO, IMF Family Association, World Bank Family Network. They're just all in bed with the same interests as their sponsoring organization. Of course, IMF Family Network, it's the IMF Family Association, it's the IMF. FACO, it's the corporate America. Some support from also the State Department, I know for a fact as well. FIAF is in bed with corporate interests of France, as well as the French diplomatic corps. I would say they're even more cozily in bed, perhaps, than the Americans. Spaniards are a little bit less organized. The British, I don't think they have a global network. The Canadians have a global network. I mean, this is one of the things that came out in my at my parents' memorial ceremony, was that my siblings thanking, particularly my younger brother and my younger sister, thanking my parents for giving them so many opportunities in life, which was going to Foxcroft, going to Woodbury Forest, Tulane. Well, my younger sister actually went to Boston U because we got kicked out of the house, and then she went crying to one of her friends in Boston, and the father was on the board of BU, so he helped get her some sort of scholarship. I mean, I came to Washington, and, a friend of mine, stayed with a friend of mine for a few weeks or so, and he said, my God, what are you going to do? My mom said, you're out. I'll give you a plane ticket to wherever you want to go. This is a year after she's just thrown a whole tuition year of money on a stupid debutante party for me. You alpha dominant feminists, and I'm talking the right, like my mom, as well as the left, like you and my younger sister, and believe me, you all think that you're so different. You're not. If you start listening, if you really know, everybody, when I was in college, somebody said, because I've always rented rooms in Washington. When I was in college, of course, I didn't have enough money to pay for a place by myself, but they had a roof deck. And somebody said, oh, you should have a party up there. In those days, everybody, BYOB, bring your own booze, bring your own food, because none of us have any money. I'm offering you a real nice space. At first, I said I don't have the time because I'm working up on the hill in the morning. I go to classes in the afternoon, and I work in restaurants and nightclubs or whatever in the evenings, on weekends, all the time. I would work, even when I finished college and started working a 9-to-5 job in the stock markets. And I was working, well, first job, I have to admit, at E.F. Hutton. I did take a break and went out partying, I guess, like I didn't have time to do in college. Well, I did do that my first year. But after I got kicked out of the house, I woke up. She did repent. I think my father intervened. And so they would send me money, but I never knew how much or when was coming. And my last semester, I think that was paid off years afterwards. My older sister, I think, she got student loans. I think she defaulted on those. Everybody told me I should get student loans. I said, no way. I would rather work 18 hours a day, not sleep, and OGW money until the end of the semester when I can save it up, because that's what I'd usually just pay it off before I'd have the finals, so they would give me the grades. But I am not gonna be in debt to anybody. Everybody laughed at me when we went to Madrid and we're buying our house, our $1 million home, that they have stolen from me, because I still want to see every single financial record of my marriage and what's going on. Look, your little friend Balthazar Garçon, you should tell him to get out of his frickin' ivory tower. He's up a creek without a paddle. I'm going to be suing his NGO for fraud, just like all the other NGOs. I contacted him. My case challenges the defense of the Spanish government in González Carreño versus Spain, Convention Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, 2014. Their defense was judicial inadmissibility due to judicial error and a failure to exhaust domestic remedies. Now, I demonstrate judicial error is no judicial error. Everybody, not only the lawyers, this shows you the lawyers, but it was the court clerks. It was all of the different people where I had to process. You have to process a whole bunch of paperwork, and oh Lord, do the Spaniards love their bureaucratic processing of paperwork and standing in lines and being arrogant SOBs and little bitches. That's what good governance and capacity development is about. People don't care about your little squabbling on political issues. They want service. If it's the public sector or the private sector, because the private sector is overseen by the public sector, or at least that's its function. You know, all you people with your frickin' poli-sci majors and PhDs and big wigs. I mean, there's a guy over at the IMF, Mark White Lewis. He comes from Kennedy, Harvard, government school, big wig, poli-sci. Well, he is the one who is getting the money for he's at the head of the Global Partnership Division for the Institute for Capacity Development, the IMF's university. Yeah, I'm already going ballistic against all of the universities. I got so many names of so many PhDs in just the domestic violence cesspool that I want to, called out. You can see Family Courts in Crisis newsletter. All of these people got it. Were sent it. But everybody, even in the domestic violence movement, all they want to do, you can see my presentation at the Battered Mothers Custody Conference on violence against women as human rights violation in 2015. I was like, because they usually come down to Washington and are always pissed off that I won't spend money that I don't have to go up there, pay for a hotel, like on the streets, unless they get me thrown out, to go to their little meetings. We can do this online. You come down to Washington, we don't get anywhere. All you do is the same stupidity of meetings and conferences as everybody else. Well, I went to the conference. I'm the only one. I just found YouTube, whatever, all of that I had uploaded back in 2015, and it disappeared. It got hacked into and disappeared. Of course, I can't get anywhere with YouTube. I just cleaning up all of my stuff. I've had to change 9 times. So yeah, you had to take your hammock and traipse all of over the jungles of Colombia. Well, okay, I got a little bit more in the hammock, and I do have my books, and I am very thankful for that. And I do have running water. And I do occasionally have places with heat, not always. But believe me, the squalor that I've been living in, particularly the worst was, this was the fight with the landlord that tried to charge me within an 18-month period. The rent went up from $750 to $900, $950, and at $1,800 per month for a little room in Washington. I said, "Lady, I'll see you in court." And of course, she was black, the judge was black, I'm white. The 2 legal clinics in that place that I went through, investigation into stupidity, criminality, that whole courthouse is looking at one frickin' big investigation just with my case alone. Now, all you little people out there with your PhDs and you little ladies that have grappled up the ladder of success either by getting your PhDs or by marrying somebody with a PhD, better come down from your little ivory towers. Because another thing that I saw in your book, Even Silence Has End, you said that it was your father who was the one who had initiated this money for foreign students to come to the United States to study. Well, see, excuse me, Trump stuff about the foreigners trying to take over this country, my life's history of the past 10 years since I've been back in trying to find a job, in trying to build a political platform that is basically a new civil rights movement. That's what the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence in 2010 told me was needed. So I haven't just built a rah-rah Jeanne d'Arc de les États-Unis d'Amérique. Quoi? No. That came after, since nobody would read anything that I'm sending to them. Believe me, I got no desire to be on any goddamn podium. Look at the 2015 presentation that I did. Well, I'm really overweight. I mean, my weight has been since you all took my kids. I'm too off busy podium. Chow, chow, chow. I gotta catch a plane. Chow, chow, chow. I gotta get to a meeting. My weight's good. Constantly fight to keep it off. Not because I'm hungry. I'm just so stressed out. I'm worried sick about my children. I was worried sick about my father. I'm worried sick about this country. And all I get is harassment in the places that I'm working in, and harassment in the places I'm living in. Because you got a bunch of friggin' narcissistic. Well, this place is not filled with millennials. It's filled with old guard narcissists and oh God, the landlord. He was a court-appointed lawyer in D.C. He's retired now. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the thorough investigation into everything, because he's also been renting out this house for the past 40 years, and the crap that he's pulling, oh Lord. So anyway, you can tell your little friend, Baltasar Garcon, that his goose is cooked. And he also, his critics are right. Just like everybody else. All he cares about is being up on his little podium and being in the limelight and giving speeches and all of that. So, see, this is, I can't really see while I'm... But here you got the Spanish Constitution. I have the international conventions here. I don't have them marked here. Oh, it's up here. So, you've got the European Convention on Human Rights, Convention on Elimination of Violence Against Women, Convention on Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Declaration of Principles for Victims of Abuses of Power. Those are the international conventions that I identified. And again, this is just the infractions from my lawyers. My lawyers, who are supposed to be defending. Now, this is attack on the Spanish Constitution. So, however, when lawyers are getting involved in all of this crap that they're doing to the women and children, I've developed this because the Spanish Constitution was created 200 years after the American Constitution. Also, of course, my case was in Spain, so that's why I started developing this. But I have claimed this under universal jurisdiction and applicable because all of the games that everybody is playing in all of the different court systems around the world are the same. We got the statistics are the same. The manipulations, the problems are the same. So I'm using this Spain as a case study with a utopian legal platform and system between their constitution, their penal code, and their civil code. It's almost utopian. You should tell Baltasar Garzón and his little friends within the legal community in Spain that they might actually want to read those things. Because their hierarchy, that is above their administrative laws and little tricks. See, this is why democracies are not working. Idiots in your legal community don't understand a frickin' thing about the law. I understand more about the principles of law. I mean, your sister went to law school. Well, tell me she doesn't understand all of this. No, she's too busy cashing in on the real estate in Paris. That's all going to collapse. I mean, I had contacted her about you and her. I mean, that would have been fine to come on board on Global Expats because I knew, with your name, well, then we could get our foot in the door with the capital venturists and get the $100 million that I need to get this project moving. All of this pitch palace and all of these rah, it's like, let's make a deal. These are just, 1970s upgrades of the game shows. And it's just rah. And to go out and produce another beauty product or another retreat. Oh, Lord. Last thing this world needs is another stupid retreat for all the PhDs who never went to kindergarten and can't figure out their jobs in the first place. So, penal code, civil code, I get into that. Look. See? These asshole lawyers? Huh. By the time I get finished with them on the penal code alone, their gooses are cooked. Then when I get into the civil code, their assets are mine. Crap they pulled. I mean, Ingrid, come on, you people. On what planet this trickle-down theory is working? And so now we're going to do it with the Sustainable Development Goals and use the same crap. Your trickle-down didn't work because your ruling elite are a bunch of narcissistic little bitches, whores, and pimps who only want beauty products to jet set around the world, to grapple up the ladder of success, to keep up with the Joneses. I mean, it's got to stop. And, this, so you either get the stupid dumb blondes who just want to hang on the arm of a PhD, and he wants the stupid dumb blondes and the young girls, so they won't notice that they just have inflated egos and don't understand a damn thing about what they're talking about. Or you have your grappling up the ladder of success intellect women. Now, Daniel Parfait's wife, his first wife, before Astrid, Nicole Parfait, she was the honorary president of Bogotá when I came in, and because of all of the little bitchery that I was having there, I tried to get some support from her. And no, she typical, intellect, and this is just infecting Washington. I remember when Lucy Herman, she was my sister's good friend and one of her best friends, or her best friend, growing up in Tucson. She's now over at Stanford Law, director of some policy lab. Well, she's been covering up for all of this for the past, 12 years. I mean, this comes under RICO. Now, I know, for example, you and your sister are not implicated under RICO because this is U.S. federal law. But I'm pretty sure there is also a RICO in France. There might even be a RICO in Colombia. I think a lot of countries have picked up on this, the whole RICO, which is Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization Act. Any act of bribery, theft, embezzlement, fraud, obstruction of justice, slavery. Now, see, I'm going after all of you feminists and all of the legal community and the judicial systems on enslavement of the homemaker and women in the home and family. Because you are seizing our assets on if we go for a divorce and won't let us access. Now, see, everybody in Spain kept on saying habitual custom. And the Colegio de Madrid, which is the Bar Association, they claim that it is right of lawyers to violate the rights of their clients under the principles of judicial independence. Therefore, everybody claims habitual custom. The Bar Association claims that it's the right of the lawyers of this habitual custom. Because if it wasn't habitual custom, then I would have found lawyers in Spain to sue my lawyers for the damages, which is about $10 billion right now, because of course that's not my assets, but what precipitated my ex-husband trying to kill me was that I was trying to start a company, the website for global expats, which is a cross between TripAdvisor, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Yelp.com. And I had shown my ex-husband that the advertising revenue potential was $1 billion. That's when he tried to start, when the violence escalated. Then when Microsoft, a business developer over there, became interested in 2007, that's when he cyberjacked the whole project and then started trying to kill me. Excuse me, how does this work to trickle down? And the SDGs aren't going to produce the increase in income inequality just like the trickle down did, because you got a bunch of psychopaths and crazy people who are handling all of your money and don't want, only want predatory. Because I mean, my whole project, one of the things that I want to do is an international marketing company to help artisans, but I want to focus on the women and getting them the proper raw materials, because the best raw materials in the country are given to the designers in New York and everything. They're stealing their designs and not, no royalties or anything for these indigenous populations. Then, for example, pro-export, the government, the Cámara de Comercio, I saw that when I did with my marketing research to do this in the first place, and I saw there's too many, tiered things. That's why I wanted to do it through Expat Wives Club and cut out the middlemen. That's all in my, in my business plan. Everybody says it's the best business plan they've ever seen, but of course, since everybody in my entourage wants to ostracize me and shut me up because I'm, first it's out of jealousy. I mean, see, everybody talks about domestic violence being about power and control, and it is. But part of it is this this jealousy that eats up at the other people, the user, for their victim. It's very, and you all are just promoting that and propagating that. And so anyway, slavery, racketeering, gambling, money laundering. What do you think the banking systems are doing? And acts of terrorism. Oh Lord. War on domestic terrorism is my activism website, so I'm going to be attacking that on all sorts of arenas. So then, aiding or assisting aliens in illegally entering the country if the action was for financial gain. So yeah, even the American government, who's issuing these visas for all of these people to come into this country, IMF, World Bank, UN staff, to subvert the U.S. Constitution and create all of this cacophony and add to it. I mean, as I said to the restaurant owner, the Greek restaurant owner where I was working, I mean, that place is a shit show as well, just like every place else in Washington. You people are really trashing this country. Top to bottom. I told him, I said, I'll be damned. My own compatriots are doing a good enough job of trashing this country without you all helping us. Thank you very much. So you all can just pack your bags and leave. I'll deal with my compatriots, but I don't have to deal with you. Seizure of assets. Of course, financial gain. Do you know? Come on. All of you expats. Oh, I mean, not only do they get cushy jobs where they sit around doing nothing most of the time, 6-figure salaries for the expats. They get their housing paid for, their children's education in prep schools. Oh, and Beatrix Keller's son went to Woodbury Forest. Universities paid for, health paid for, so they can come here and just party and fornicate and cash in. I mean, the State Department, they're the ones, or no, excuse me, did that come under, I'm not sure who exactly issues those visas, but I want some answers from them. Everybody's complicit. This is why it comes under RICO. Nobody's looking. And this is one of the problems of, one of the reasons why monarchies developed was because it does provide a continuity of in governance. But all of the monarchs, you can see in Europe, that's why they kept on getting revolution and revolution. I mean, where the old queen, I forget her name, in Spain, and Queen Letizia, since she's come in, what are they going to do, abdicate? Be facing another revolution and then another Franco? My ex-husband's grandfather and both his grandfathers were on the losing side of the Spanish Civil War. One was a communist, and actually he had some, political convictions. The other was just a violent SOB anarchist. His grandsons are no different. I mean, his family, he comes from a poor family. They were scandalized when we got a house in Villa Franco de Castillo, because it's a Frankist neighborhood. Yeah, well, you see, all of you people, this is the problem with social mobility between classes. You're so happy to arrive and to get invited to all of the parties that you'll sell your soul to anybody and your bodies. So, subsection of 18 U.S.C.A. 1962. Government need not prove defendant agreed with every other conspirator, knew all of the other conspirators, or had full knowledge of all the details of the conspiracy. Now, I don't know if you're following me here, because, I just, really, everybody, you PhDs, you MBAs, you big wigs out there, all of you, the only thing you have is inflated egos. The brains got left. There's actually a very good book that we had bought for my parents, but my siblings should read it, because they got the same atrophy of the brain as we're seeing in the dementia and the Alzheimer's and all of this. Your brains are trophying from either a trauma. It's Daniel Amen. Most of his research has been on athletes. My kind of thing on the football and all of these, contact games. Well, I guess it's a step up from the Roman places where you used to have the lions and or the gladiators fighting each other to the death. So I guess we're progressing a little bit, but got to get the money out of there. Yes, sports are good, but my God, you got so much freaking money. They're taking steroids. They'll beat their bodies. You got to get all of the money and the greed out of the politics, out of the sports, out of everything. See, it all is one big conspiracy of the 10% elite to maintain this oppressive status quo that is causing the increase in income inequality. Because you want to concentrate more resources and more luxury products into the hands of the 10%ers and tell the poor people that this is what they should aspire to. No. This was not what the founding fathers and what the Americans came to the United States to do. I'm hearing all the time the minorities, how their populations, the Asians, the blacks, the Latinos, built this country. No, they built the Wild West, and they just want to, cash in like the robber barons. But even the United States, it had been usurped. The Constitution and democratic principles by the robber barons of the 1800s. So this goes back a long way. But it does come under conspiracy. This is why the Italians, they had their mafia in the Godfather. Makes very good point, Mario Puzo. Well, we're not doing anything different than what you guys are doing. My mother even admitted to that when the whole Watergate thing came out. She was like, of course she was big Republican extremist and part of the architect, just like your father, with starting this, let's get a whole bunch of immigrants in this country and give them a bunch of PhDs and MBAs. And add to the cacophony. one of the things that my father told me quite a few years ago was, he said, one of the big problems is not just all of the faulty logic and analysis of what's going on today. It's that it was built on faulty analysis of before. And so it's getting this derivative effect. You know what derivatives are? Some of these economists should learn about this stuff. Some of these financiers, they should learn about this stuff. Racketeering racketeering predicates must be related and amount to or pose a threat of continued criminal activity. Well, I can attest that the criminal activity is continuing. I'm in the middle of the cesspool, and if things were being cleaned up, I'd just pick up a phone and call a legal clinic like I should have been able to do when I got here, walked in and say, what the hell is all of this crap? Oh, no, this is illegal, bum, 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 bum. And we start applying, we start submitting the letters and pushing, excuse you consular people, you think that you don't have an obligation to do this? I'm going to haul your ass in court, and I'm going to see every single one of you in jail for fraud. Because that's exactly your job. And I'm going to seize your assets, and I'm going to run you out of town. I mean, one of the reasons that Trump has some support still is his administration actually did accomplish some for me they're details, but for some people they were important. I think one of the big things was it the Israeli embassy where we had our embassy. I forget exactly, but he was talking about something else today in his speech. And yes, they have actually accomplished things that have been sitting on people are sitting discussing for maybe 40 years. This is the cacophony of the women. So those found guilty of racketeering can be fined up to $25,000 and sentenced to 20 years in prison per racketeering count. Forfeiture of all ill-gotten gains and payment of treble the damages to its victims. Now, I can't even begin to count how many trillions of dollars in damages been done to victims. Let's just go for the banking system in the United States alone. I think if I seize every single house of everybody in the IMF, World Bank, and UN alone, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to produce enough to give back to the victims just there. The Twang and Campbell they wrote the narcissist epidemic, thinking they, again, another PhD, another bigwig out there who thinks that they have a magic wand and they're going to write this new book and everybody's going to be nice and nobody's going to be a narcissist anymore and the world will just change and everything will be great and wonderful. So this is why I say you never graduated from kindergarten. Somebody forgot to tell you all of the little, the bedtime stories when you were little, about Little Red Riding Hood, the Three Little Pigs, and the Big Wolf. If you build the straw hut, then the Big Wolf can come and just blow it away. You better build the brick house, because even the stick house is not going to keep the wolf at the door. You know, the what is it? The tortoise and the hare. You remember who won on all of those? Well, here's your little hare. Yep. Everybody's been laughing at me. Everybody's been laughing at me, just like in the tortoise of the hare. Ha 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 ha! You're just a stupid deposed trophy wife. You're just a stupid woman. Oh, you know. How can you ever win this race? Well, because I've been out there, you know, like the hare, and schmoozing-n-cruising, and trying to get everybody to look at me and be in the limelight. No, I've been working 24/7. I mean, I barely sleep. I can't. I mean, you know, my family go, oh, let's go on vacation. I'm like, don't you people understand? Until I get my children back, until I get my life back, no, I don't enjoy anything else. And I don't think about anything else. I mean, the callousness just of all of you, all, you know, everybody in my family, people who were my friends, you know, pretended to be my friends during my life. I haven't really heard from anybody, but it doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me at all. Zabby told me, he said, nobody gives a shit about you or your kids. And I said, well, yeah, I know. I'm on my own. So I'll do it on my own, just like I've always done in my life. Everything I've gotten, nobody's ever given me anything. Yes, God gave me a better situation by making me born in the United States to, you know, very, very intelligent and successful doctor as a father. He also threw some bombs in there. So, you know, this idea that grapple up the ladder of success, get money, and life is a bowl of cherries, and we all live happily ever after, is just BS. Look at Trump. That's a product of what you guys want. All of you. I don't care if you're on the right or the left. So anyway, so here I said, I do not believe IMF, World Bank, UN, and NGO staffers are going to be so amused when it is they who are the ones facing seizure of their homes and assets, separation from their children. Well, I mean, you guys screwed your children over royally. Because one of the things, you have transformed them basically into stateless and rightsless people. So all of you, you know, you think all your assets are gone, you know, they're not going to be able to find jobs, and then they're going to be faced with the stigma of having had Fourth Reich parents. You know, Nazi parents. I mean, a lot of the, and for example, Pablo Escobar's son can tell you about this. Say, you guys, you, Ingrid, and your children, because you're part of this game. You wanted to get in. This is what it is going to be with all of you women out there who wanted to have it all, get in to the echelons of power and look down your noses, and even in fact produce ideologies and rhetoric that are producing the hate crimes that I've been victim to. My younger sister, we'll be seeing that with her. Anytime I want to find out what the bitch feminists are saying about me, and the bitch is in my office or anything, with their little manipulations, and I mean, my God, ICD, I couldn't believe it when the stupid office manager passed me over for a job as a secretary with, budget. It was half budget, half HR, and she said I wasn't qualified. I mean, that's incredible. I should have had, if I was black, and that had been a white woman or man doing that to me, and I was a black woman or a brown woman, particularly because the black men in this town, oh Lord, I think they've been castrated more than any other men out there. All the men have been castrated by you women. I mean, it's ridiculous. A whole bunch of wusses. As Lee Iacocca says, need to grow up hair. Not only the men, but the women. But I don't see that happening with anybody in this town. All anybody cares about. I mean, I've been back for 12 years now. And I have not stopped knocking at doors, trying to build coalitions, asking for assistance. I have produced all of the argumentation, all of the rhetoric. Anybody tells me, oh, but you need to do this. We need to build a civil rights movement. Okay? So I did it all by myself because they're all too busy passing out cards and promoting their books and schmoozing and building their little cliques and alliances. I mean, the domestic violence activists, it's like with Women's March. I didn't even get involved because I had already seen what was going on with the domestic violence groups, and it's all just cacophony. This is why women were traditionally kept out of the workforce. Why I'll be demonstrating that with the house where I'm living in right now, because the owner of the house is actually the landlord's daughter. She bought it, I guess, about 10 years ago or something. There was a fire. Her mother was moved to assisted living, or apparently, well, the story goes that the mom's a bit crazy, but as one of the men who lived here, who was on welfare, told me, he just got ill and was taken to the hospital, that the real crazy one is him. And I'm like, oh yeah. So I'll be seeing all of that, because I did tell the cops, because I finally talked to one of the cops that's here at Mount Pleasant on the street, and I said, look, buddy, I don't want to take these guys to court right yet under, domestic violence altercation in the home, but I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to call you guys, because all they do is scream and insult me. I've had them banging at my door. I'm not allowed locks on the door. The one guy upstairs, he has a gun. The landlord, he's across the hall. These people should be in a mental institution, really. They're crazy. But it's standard fare in Washington. Believe me. Everybody in this town's freaking crazy. And the only thing anybody cares about is cashing in. So that's why, Biden gets in, Kamala Harris gets in. It's just going to be more of the same. More of the same. Trump got in because Obama dropped the ball and sold out his country. Biden and Kamala Harris, I mean, my Lord. First, ask any victim. The women judges are, the women lawyers and judges are the worst out there. Biggest bitches out there, don't understand a frickin' thing about the law. or democratic principles or any of that, just their power and control. Black women, it ups the ante. And Kamala Harris, honey, you talk about your stupid giggling girl. I can't wait. Oh, God. When I start the investigation, this is the thing. How is, even if Biden and Harris win, both of them are already facing, being brought up to the international courts under crimes against humanity. Carrie Bettinger Lopez, the lead counsel on Gonzalez-Linehan versus USA 2011, was Biden's advisor on violence against women. A little bitch sold out. Just climbed in bed with the wolf. See, Carrie Bettinger Lopez, the counsel for the first jurisprudence, is going to end up in the international courts, because why didn't she follow up on that and go, attack it? Because the American government said that they didn't have control and jurisdiction of their courts at the state level. Therefore, the U.S. government is null and void under its U.S. Constitution, because that's their raison d'etre. Okay? All of you big wigs with your poli-sci majors out there, you don't understand any more than the economists. Get out of your frickin' tower, because it's going to bring you all down. And I just keep on racking up names. So, get lengthy prison stays. When you get out of prison, you'll be lucky to get a minimum wage job. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's the new mantra in Washington these days. Up and down. And it's incredible. Everybody just wants to cash in. So, maybe you'll understand that the blog that I did for you, it's getting kind of long, but in 2009, yeah, that's exactly what Washington is. Just as bad as the guerrilla, SOBs and bitches that you were locked up with. And as you say, oh, they're here with democratic principles and they want revolutions, but when you see how they act like kings and queens. And the women are whoring themselves out to be with people in power. Same dynamic. Absolute same dynamic in Washington. Just make it exponential. So, in 2001, I attended the inauguration of the Spanish version of Ingrid Betancourt's book, La Rage au Coeur, in Bogota, Colombia, and her ensuing presidential campaign speeches. While I was impressed with her convictions, enthusiasm, and desire for peace and change for her country, I felt that she could never achieve in Colombia what is unattainable in the United States and Europe. I followed her 6 years of captivity in the Colombian Spanish, French, and American press closely, and admired Astrid and her family's never-ending persistence to liberate Ingrid. I'd asked my mother to call her good friend Mike Helen, one of the campaign managers for John McCain presidential campaign in, it was 2008. This was in 2007 when the courts were covering up. My ex-husband he was trying to kill me, and I did file a complaint, and the courts covered it up and absolved him, and that's when my lawyers started defrauding me of my assets and trying to cover up all evidence. And that's when I was going to the consulate, and I said, Mom, would you please just pick up the phone and ask Mike Helen to call the consulate and do their frickin' job? See, even my mom is implicated in crimes against humanity, in the cover-up of crimes against humanity. The UN report, Violence Against Women, in-depth study on all forms of violence against women, clearly shows that it's the women who are involved in the perpetuation of the violence of men and the cover-up and the trafficking of women. My family's been doing it for the past 12 years in covering all of this up. You've been implicated. Astrid's implicated. Cornelia Guest, her publicist, I contacted. Yeah, Cornelia Guest is implicated because she's become a public figure and been one of the architects of all of this. So, my former classmates, there's a lot of them from Foxcroft who are implicated. Jennifer Shaw, daughter of former Congressman Clay Shaw. Lee Topping Brady, not in my case, but her father-in-law was Secretary of Treasury Brady, and he was the architect of the Brady bonds that started all of the indebtedness in South America. So, it's all over the map of ruling elite women that I know who are just too busy in their $1 million homes or their ivory tower, PhDs, Oxford, wherever you are too busy going to parties. And this is basically why the American Revolution started. And if you'll go into my letter to Prince Charles, I do a comparison from John Dickinson's view of the crown and the position of a crown and a monarch, versus Thomas Paine that said, oh, you guys are just a bunch of parasites, which both are true, depending on the monarch. And that's what governance is about. You either have the group of people who are just there to cash in and do party and stuff like that, or dedicated civil servants. And they're very, very few and far between. And I know them across, England, Spain, France, the United States, South America. Not many out there. That's the problem. So, too many chefs spoil the soup, and too many little bitches in the soup really spoil it. Okay, so I followed her 6 years of captivity in Colombia. I know enough about the dynamics and political backdrop of her liberation to know that without the efforts of Ingrid's family, she and those freed with her would have been left to die in the jungles of Colombia by the important people of the world. I wrote that also, saying, I know, from my own experience with my family, you were lucky. You had a mother and a sister who were willing to go to bat for you, and were not too busy just cashing in and let her die. She's gone. Let's get back to party. That's actually what is real privilege in this world, is having some people around you who care about you and support you and are willing to use their contacts to help you or to help you in your work, rather than just come and visit you in your $1 million home when you have one, and then when you get kidnapped and thrown into the jungle, oh well, Too bad. It is what it is. It is what it is. Hope you do okay. Bye. See? So, however, it was upon reading the following passage in her book, Letter to My Mother, that was published during her captivity, that I thought to myself, this is exactly the torment and fear that I have lived for the past 3 years, and that all too many women and children around the world live for an entire lifetime, and no one really cares, as I have learned the hard way. So this was 2009, because really the violence really started escalating. I mean, it was in progress of me doing the website, the prototype, and working on all of that. God, that took forever, because of course he had the web designers in his pocket, and they kept on, they're looking at, now they're looking at they were looking at a lawsuit. Now they're going to be going to the courts under crimes against humanity as well. This is where the true battle lies for peace and democracies, not in political campaigns and politically correct rhetoric. I owe an enormous amount of gratitude to Ingrid and Astrid. Trying to be nice. At the end, and also I didn't know you guys would hang me out to dry either. Just jumped on board. Well, as I keep on telling everybody, you want to hang me out to dry? You want to screw me over? You want to stab me in the back? You want to do something illegal? Well, go ahead and get on the gravy train. Got plenty of room. And I ain't going. Everybody thinks they'll just ignore me till I go away, and I will eventually just disappear and go away, because that's usually what happens. This time, it's not happening. Not happening. So, I'm here for as long as it takes. I am a Cincinnatus. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in your power games. I don't, oh Lord. I just announced, my candidacy for President of the United States. Last thing in the world I'd ever want to do. I mean, sure, I'd like to, you're all your partying and all of your, on the podium, the limelight, no, but I got my eye on a horse farm in near my house in Madrid, and just retire there with horses and my animals and my children and any friends. Even everybody's so superficial, you still need friends, socialize. At the end of 2007, I realized that my children would end up under the custody of their emotionally unstable father, and his family's influence and mercy. In my desperation, I contacted every association whose mission is to help women in my situation, and anyone and everyone I have known during my lifetime who have any kind of power, asking for their assistance. The only person who provided any assistance was Astrid Bettencourt. When she did respond, when I wrote to her, I was trying to get the consulate to get on board, but she did write a letter for the court, which did get into the court. It is in the court documents, so that's proof that we were in contact. But the courts are such a mess. It doesn't matter what the evidence. Nobody knows how to look at evidence. Nobody knows how to argue. This came out in the Clark Report, the American Bar Association Clark Report. 70% of the lawyers don't know what they're doing out there. And what has everybody done since then? The bar associations are covering it all up, and universities have just flooded the market with greedy, ignorant, stupid, and criminal lawyers. So, you're starting to understand how this is all under RICO and how everybody is implicated. The amount of people who provided me with empty rhetoric and promises, ignored me, or slammed the proverbial door in my face was amazing. The apathy and indifference of people over the life of a woman and her children stunned and disillusioned me more than I have ever been in my entire life, and is precisely why what happened to me and my children occurs every day, everywhere. Additionally, for the first time in my life, I was presented with a problem that I did not know how to handle or confront, and no one to turn to for advice. It was in rereading Ingrid's book, La Rage au Cœur, that she gave me the advice and answer that I needed. Yeah, la rage au cœur, elle est là. Elle est toujours là. Parce que tout le monde, toi et ta sœur, compris, sont blablabla bla 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 et rien d'autre. I mean, you know, I've heard about, believe me, one of the things when I was president of Bogota, that it scandalized the entire board was the openness that Astrid had her affair with Daniel Parfait while he was still married to Nicole Parfait. I mean, they were always like, because either Astrid would show up at a function or Nicole would show up at a function with Ambassador Parfait. You know, and I just told everybody in the French community, I said, look, you little ladies. Obviously, everybody in this entourage, you know, the three of them know what's going on. It's their business. Nobody else's business. If his wife knows what's going on and she's fine with it, then it's nobody else's business. And obviously the mistress is going to know about it because you know they're married. I mean, I got a strict rule about that, and I have always had a strict rule about that. And sort of single, that doesn't exist. Or sort of married, that doesn't exist. And I'm sure, you know, I heard about Dominique de Villepin and you when you were a student. You know, that's another thing that I have to admit, there was an international politics professor my senior year who was smart and cute. I mean, I was a student anyway. I was, you know, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life and not who I'm going to sleep with. Oh, by that time, I had become what my gay friends called a born-again virgin. They even wanted to hire a gigolo for a birthday present for me out of pity, and I said, you guys, I'm not into that. I'm done with all of this and these men in this town. And believe me, it's just the cesspool and has just gotten worse. I mean, trying to find an honorable man in this town, worse than looking for a needle in a haystack. And I mean, one of the reasons why I'm always helping people is because I know how to handle any kind of chaos. One of the advantages of living with a chaotic mother and a family that is constantly, and people around you are constantly producing chaos, is then they come, oh my God, Xavier was always doing this to me. Fix it. Okay. Fixing it doesn't mean sweeping it under the carpet. Sometimes it does. Let's just move forward. That's what I tried to do with Xavier when we left Bogota and he had destroyed his career and tried. But no support from his family. The psychiatrist in Bogota, our marriage counselor, I want to see him, his license taken away from him, just as much as the marriage counselor we had in Madrid. useless waste of time and money and empowering the abuser. So, after 6 years of living in Colombia, with security concerns of my own children and family, witnessing kidnappings, homicide, and terrorist attacks. And believe me, I'm pretty sure James can attest to this. My husband didn't know about it. But my bodyguard, he can attest to this. I think I was a target of a kidnapping attempt when I was there. And he said, okay, well, we'll just be more careful. It was at my jewelry school in downtown. So, you know, yeah, I know what it's like to live like that. Believe me, I was paranoid. One of the things that I always felt horrible with my children with was constantly, no, you can't go there, you can't go there, you gotta wait until James can come and pick you up and take you there. No, I'm gonna go with my friends. No, you cannot go in a car with somebody that doesn't, you gotta have the bodyguard, you gotta have the bulletproof car. And my kids, they were pissed off, but they did understood because I was never a control freak, unreasonable mother. I even would tell them, you know, the only reason I am doing this, and I am so strict about this, is my concern for your safety. And they would just be like, okay, I know, Mom. When I came to Capitol Hill in 1981, there were no security people, no badges. You come in and you talk to the you're all part of this. You know, you all want to get global. You've been jet-setting around the world. I've been jet-setting around the world. I'm second-generation jet-setter. Well, it's time to take stock a little bit of what you've been, you know, seeing and not just cash into all of this. True values, morals, and integrity are not to be found on a slip of paper, whether they be on marriage certificates, birth certificates, constitutions, declarations of rights, or legal codes, but rather through love, honor, and dignity. So, Letter to My Mother by Ingrid Betancourt. This is a very dense jungle where sunlight scarcely ever penetrates, and it is barren of affection, sympathy, or tenderness. They separated me from the people with whom I had a good rapport and affection and put me in with a very difficult group. I am tired, Mamita, tired of suffering. I've been or tried to be strong. These nearly 6 years of captivity have proven that I am not as resistant, not as brave, not as intelligent, not as strong as I thought. I've put up many battles, have tried to escape several times, have tried to keep up hope like one keeps one's head above water. But Mamita, darling, I give up. I would like to think that one day I will get out of here. But I realize that what happened to the congressman, which affected me so deeply, could happen to me at any moment. I believe it would be a relief for everybody. Now, one of the things that I never understood when I went to your campaign in 2001, when you were launching it, you know, you were at a table, I don't know, like Jesus with the disciples, with all of the FARC people, you know, cutouts, and that you were going to negotiate. Well, of course, this is not exactly how it was supposed to be played out. But if you did end up there, instead of trying to constantly, escape, why don't you sit down and talk to them? I mean, the contractors, I read the book about the contractors. I forget where it is. One of the contractors, you didn't show the leadership that you need to be showing out there. And I know it was a difficult situation. I've been in a difficult situation, and believe me, sometimes I think I just can't keep up. Just can't keep on. And then I think of my children. That's the only thing that keeps me going. I'm trying to negotiate. This is the same, you're trying to escape, we're not trying to put a bomb in there. But the one of the contractors, he had said in the book that the guerrilla didn't want their soldiers talking to the contractors, because then they would realize that all Americans are not imperialist pigs. Well, the Americans that you're in bed with, and your government is in bed with, and all of the South American governments are in bed with, are imperialist pigs. But not all of the people of the United States are imperialist pigs. And all of the ruling elite of this country are imperialist pigs. And that's where, the divide there comes from. No, not all Americans are imperialist pigs. But yes, our policies have been about that. And we are responsible, the American population is responsible who they vote into office. I see with my own frickin' family, either they don't care, or they just buy into whatever narrative the extreme right or the extreme left is producing. Well, my cousin, he's gay, and of course left. It's so funny, because he was my mother's favorite nephew, and he and my mom were always very, very close. So, and when it came out that he was gay, that was, I asked my siblings, and I'm like, well, what's Mom saying about that? Because, homophobia, did she have it bad? But he was saying, he worked for O'Rourke. Oh, Lord. I don't know which would have been more, Ted Cruz. O'Rourke is just the left of Ted Cruz. And he was like, oh yeah, the Democrats, they got a plan. The constituents of these people just parrot whatever they're told. They have no brains. They have no minds. I keep thinking that at last I am going to cry no more. That it has healed over. But the pain starts up again and attacks me like a vicious dog. And I again feel my heart breaking into pieces. I am tired of suffering, of bearing it all inside me all the time, of lying to myself, of believing that this will soon end, and find that every day is the same hell as the one before. I think of my children. That's all I think about. That's what I live for. I know you all live like my ex-husband's brother once said, I live to eat. And I said, no, I eat to live. And I know you all live to be on the podium, to eat fine food and wine and live a hedonistic life. But you're following the example of my mother, you're following the example of Cornelia, you're following the example of the American ruling elite. Since the robber barons took over, to the damnation of your soul. Believe me, my father, I don't worry one second where his soul ended up. And I pray for my mother's soul. every single day. And that God has a little forgiveness. More than I am capable of at times. And believe me, I learned, particularly from my younger sister. My older sister has showed her stripes in the past years. The hatred at each up. So that's not, you always have to move beyond your hatred. But forgiving is the next step. A little bit more difficult. We have gone through so much together, have lived our lives so intensely that terra firma seems to have disappeared in the distance. You know what one judge said to one woman who had her children taken away from her? What are you complaining about, lady? Shut up, just go out and have some more kids. This is the mentality all of you all are supporting and producing. 70% of physically and sexually abused children are being handed over to the abusers by family courts. Family courts are encouraging and promoting pedophilia, rape, and murder. And that's what you all are supporting. They are the same, and yet they have changed. I see my kids' photos on Facebook. That's the only news I have from them. And with every second of absence, of my inability to be there for them, to assuage their pain, and to be able to advise them or give them strength and patience and humility in the face of life's blows, all the lost opportunities to be their mama, poison these moments of infinite loneliness for me, as if I was given an intravenous injection of cyanide. The callous disregard. Just the callousness. I mean, the pain that I have gone through in the past decade of being separated from my children. And no sympathy from anybody. Not in my family, from my friends. I mean, when Ingrid, she sent me some emails saying, "Oh, I hope if you ever come to Paris, you and your kids will stop by and see us." That's like Lucy Herman at my parents' memorial service saying, "Oh, I came out here to Phoenix to be with my dad. I'm on lockdown. I don't know when I'll see my kids again and my family." And I am sitting there going, what call? You have no conscience, no morals, no empathy whatsoever. All of you people are just really, really psychopaths who have no ability to feel any compassion for anybody else. After when the whole stuff about Auschwitz came out, oh my God, how could the German people have supported this? How could they have put up with this? It isn't just the German people. This is every nationality. I mean, that's involved in all of this cover-up, every nationality. Mamita, darling, this is a very difficult moment for me. They demand a proof of life, and here I am pouring my heart out to you on this sheet of paper. I'm in poor physical condition. I haven't been eating. My appetite has shut down. My hair is falling out in chomps. I have no desire for anything. Yes, Ingrid. Women and children, this is what being beaten down. It just takes away, it sucks your lifeblood out of you. And you don't even have any desire to live. And W did promise me that I would commit suicide but I won't do it. As much as you all try, so you can all then, because believe me, my family has Munchausen by proxy as well. It's very, very common in the development community. I've seen, it was shown that socioeconomic development is the road that we need to go down, not charity. But all of you are going down the charity road type thing, because there is, I mean, it has to do with the narcissists and the psychopaths, but because they want to appear to be caring people, but since they're not, so they make these grandiose, it's just like the guy at the, who goes around screwing everybody over all week long and then comes to to church on Sunday and puts a huge wad of money in front of everybody and say, oh, look how generous he is. That's what, the NGOs, all of that. It's just, it's charity work. So you can, but then of course, there's the conflict of interest. You don't want to solve the problems of your, the victims, why your people are becoming victims, and the people that you destroy, because then you come in and make all of these grandiose speeches and throw money at them, and these, look how caring and wonderful I am, and we see this all the time. You pick even Trump did that with some black people, and they came out and said, oh, he's such a wonderful president, he let my aunt or whoever was in prison out of prison, and of course they'll come out and say what a wonderful person you are, without thinking about the greater community, because all they care about as well is themselves, and so that's how the narcissists, even at the various echelons, keep that paradigm cohesive, and all of you narcissists up at the bottom, top of the chain, you come out and you produce your books and you make all of these very, very grandiose and wonderful speeches, but nobody ever puts their money where their mouth is, and in fact, it's in your interest that we produce more and more, broken people, because then less and less will rise up, and then you can appear to be more and more, a charitable, and you also have more people that you can help, so you can pick and choose, and it doesn't cost you much, so, and it makes you look very good, and then you get a press person to come and say what a wonderful person you are, and look how you just helped this person. We see it all over the place, so, but it's this is one of the consequences of the narcissism epidemic, and why the legal community is at fault and responsible under RICO and under penal codes and constitutions for not pursuing the criminals of the 10%ers and the white-collar crimes. They just want to protect them, and we've got all sorts of white-collar criminals out there, and white-collar criminal lawyers to protect them. And it is all to that's what I showed with my case against part of the things with my divorce. Part of it was, nobody wanted the problems that had happened in Bogota and that had destroyed Xavier, my ex-husband, to be in court records. And in fact, that's why, well, we'll see that, because the lawyers had told me that any judge would say that what Xavier had done with our assets over the years was investing. Now, when the judge actually came out with that in the court, like, oh Lord, that judge just nailed her coffin shut. And more than she can even imagine. She just nailed the coffin shut on the cover-up of the corruption in the banking system by the Spanish legal community. Because except up in your little la-la land of high risk, high yield, what my ex-husband did with our money in no way, shape, or form is investing. It's gambling. Now, check out the civil code of the Spanish civil code, or ask your little friend Baltazar Garzon about the gambling debts of a husband or a wife in common property marriage. So, see what you guys are all covering up. All of you are implicated. Well, as I was telling you, life here is no life. It is a gruesome waste of time. I'm hanging out. I'm doing this is the newest one this is from my father. That is I'm still working on this piece. It was a son. This I've started. I'm still working on it. It's an owl. My father loved owls and for their wisdom, like him. See, this was one of the big things with when they had to go to Little Sisters. They had 3,000 books. Now, one of the things that always made my mother so jealous and why she was so desperate to denigrate and bully and destroy and just it was horrible how she treated him, and at the end it was the worst because of her jealousy. And that's why my siblings have done the same thing to me, and that's why she's done the same thing to me, because everybody knows I inherited the intelligence of my father and the capacity to see how everything fits together. And that is just makes all of you so frickin' jealous, it's not even funny. Even when I was in my 20s, in the 80s here, one of my friends, this guy, he's a gay man, I've never liked women very much. Well, I've always said the only reason that I've had any women friends is because I was a stay-at-home mom and at a girls' boarding school. I've always preferred the company and the conversation of men and the company of men. Because at least the men, well, that's me. Not supposed to hit a woman. But, if they get into it, it's boom, boom, and we're finished. And it's not, this is where the cacophony up on Capitol Hill before they could have an intelligent conversation between the right and the left, and now it's just cacophony swaddling, and that's the women. And it's all a waste of time. It's all a waste of time. I mean, that's what I'm doing, my artwork, and trying to zen out and prepare for the floodgates that are going to open when this town descends in a bloodbath. And I finally get some generals out there, because that's my only hope, realizing that, oh my God, somebody's got to take control. I mean, dictatorships have not always been, bad things. Sometimes when countries are just falling apart so much and there's so much cacophony You have had some dictators who have stepped in and come and say, okay, I mean, Cincinnatus, I guess, was the most famous example. Okay, we're going to put order here. And we're going to start afresh. Because all you people who claim to be such damn big experts and big wigs and who know it all and captain of the ship's going down. So I live or survive in a hammock strung between two poles. Okay, as I say, yeah, I got running water. This place, moment, no mice, no more bed bugs, no rats since I've been here. So, you know, one of the more better places I've lived, but, you want, I'll trade you. I'm sure you're not living in a place like this. Covered with mosquito netting and a canvas that acts as a roof, which to keep my belongings, that is to say, the knapsack with my clothes and a Bible, my only luxury. Yes, I do have a little bit more luxury than you. I have about 100 books here or so. Although this landlord, he's determined, because I won't kiss his ass or suck his cock, to throw me out and have me living on a tent in the street. So that'll be pretty much similar to you know, what you would live in the Amazon. We'll see. You know, he's everybody since I've been back, you know, whether it be in places where I've worked, or places where I've been living, you know, I'm a threat to them. They don't like me because they're threatened, because I'm, you know, like with Chelsea Killman, that was not only, I mean, she would come banging at my door in the middle of the night, screaming and yelling at me to leave the house because she was the director of research at the NGO. And I was just a stupid, lowly deposed trophy wife on minimum wage. I've gotten the same thing. There was this Saudi Arabian waiter who was threatening me. He said, you better watch out. And I said, excuse me, I better watch out about what? You're going to try and get me fired? You're going to beat me up? You're going to rape me? You're going to kill me? Tell me what your threat is, because I've been living with those threats for the past 15 years. They don't scare me. And if you threaten me again, and I told the managers as well, I said, you let this go on, and you let somebody threaten me here, next time that happens, I'm going to call the cops, and at the end of the shift, everybody here can explain to me what the threat is. Okay? Why? Because I'm a white wasp woman, and everybody, you know, deposed trophy wife, and everybody who, you know, all little minorities of the African American women are the worst. Giant and Safeway? I'm going to be slapping them with lawsuits. Why are you only hiring fat, black, bitchy women who don't want to serve the white people? See, none of the press will expose this. Juan Williams, you may have seen him, Fox News, The Five. He's got a letter from me. He even came into the restaurant and had done this book about the founding fathers. I'm trying to talk to him about John Dickinson and da-da-da. He wants to know if the ring on my left hand finger is a wedding ring. The only thing anybody in this town thinks about is getting laid. and cashing in and whining and dining and schmoozing and cruising. And Trump is right in that. The foreigners are trying to take over this country with their oppressive norms. Sharmini Curry of the Institute for Capacity Development, she's from Sri Lanka, one of the countries with the highest human rights violations in the world. So anyway, here's another reason why the SDGs that IMF, Institute for Capacity Development, and Mark White Lewis in 2017, I mean, when I saw that PowerPoint presentation on the internet after all the crap I'd gone through in ICD, they know about my Global Expats Project. They know I was trying to find funding for it. 2 years, 3 years within the Capital Ventures. One of the people who got a letter, an application, was Mike Helen, friend of my mom, the campaign manager for John McCain. He sent back and said, "Good luck, lady." I'm like, excuse me. These TripAdvisor, Facebook, LinkedIn, these are creating thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs. Now we see the damage Mark Zuckerberg has done. You put that kind of power in the hands of a little kid, give it to all of the young kids. They're going to get us out of this problem. No. They're worse narcissists than their parents and worse psychopaths than their parents. And also, just because techie, what have I been looking for? I've been looking for a web designer from the beginning. I know just because you don't know how to build a boat doesn't mean you don't know how to sail it. Or just because you don't know how to build a car doesn't mean you don't know how to drive it. Jeffrey Hilton contacted me. I think this was the end of 2015. I think it was actually James Ryan from Tokyo who would, put that in motion. And he said, "What do you need, a CEO or a techie guru?" I said, "One, other, or both. Or somebody like you or Cornelia Guest." I mean, can you imagine? That would have been a coup. Cornelia Guest, the Deb of the decade who started the cocaine epidemic. Well, didn't start it. Lead cheerleader of the 80 golden age. You gotta, can't accuse people of things that is not totally their fault. And she was a pawn. She was a 17-year-old kid when her mom took her out of school. But can you imagine? So, the lead cheerleader of the cocaine snorting of the 1980s and the Jeanne d'Arc of Colombia, and we're going to get together and get rid of this cocaine stuff. Anyway, whatever. I mean, no, everybody. Same thing with the IMF Family Association. That's another thing. I mean, you're going to do all of this cheerleading stuff for the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, when I have proven to you all that trickle down only increased income inequality because the money is in the hands of a bunch of narcissistic idiots who are producing businesses that fail at 70 to 90% rates. So anyway. Okay, well, my goodness, this has been over 2 hours. So anyway, you guys, you don't know how to read, so I have resolved to trying to give you some videos to explain all of these issues. We'll see. Anyway, see you all in court. You know, that's when the Nuremberg Trials 2 begins. Ingrid, I will see you there, along with Astrid, and along with Daniel Parfait. I don't know whether Nicole would be there, but Nicole Parfait. But a whole slew of ambassadors, a whole bunch of, you know, within the diplomatic corps of the French, as well as the Spanish, as well as the Americans, as well as the British, as well as everybody else. It's called Global Expats. I'm working globally. And I got universal jurisdiction. I mean, you know, you guys all want global. Well, we need responsible globalization, not predatory globalization, like all you son of bitches and their whores have been doing. So, do stay safe. I never wish, you know, any pain or suffering upon anybody. Unlike you all, who just seem to, you know, you get your kicks out of it. See, this is what's really disgusting about you all you narcissists and psychopaths, and all of you who suffer from Munchausen by proxy. It really, like, it's your drug. Hurting other people and seeing other people in pain. I know. Believe me. Seen it way too often, and it just in Washington it is of epidemic proportions, and it is rampant, and in, you know, all of the government agencies, the IMF, the World Bank, the UN, the NGOs, the think tanks, it's all over the place. So I mean, I've given up on trying to find anybody within the 10%ers. Everybody's too afraid. I mean, the lawyers within family courts can attest to this. Barry Goldstein, he got disbarred because he was willing to stand up to all of this. And everybody in you know, all of the activists know that you really stand up to anybody or stand up to this stuff, then they'll destroy you. But when we get to the Nuremberg Trials 2, that fact is going to bite you in the ass. So I do hope you all do stay safe so we can see you in court. Bye-bye.